What's going on, guys? It's Carlos, also known as Los Trades. I'm one of the stock admins in the NetsTrades Discord, and I wanted to make a quick video just kind of giving basic understanding of options and Greeks and what exactly they are, since options are the number one investment vehicle that we use in NetsTrades when we day trade or swing trade. So it's pretty important that if you don't, that you should have a basic understanding of what it is that you're actually trading and what the Greeks are and how they affect your contract and the price of your contract. So let's move on for here, and this is going to be a pretty much just really basic overview of options and everything, but we're going to go more into detail on the Greeks. So let's start here with what are options? Options are contracts that give you the right but not the obligation to buy or sell 100 shares of an underlying stock at a given price by a certain date. So the key thing to focus on here is that options give you the right but not the obligation. So that's a big thing. So when you buy an options contract, you're not signing away that you're going to buy or sell the 100 shares of that stock, but you have the right to. And the right is very important because that's what gives options contracts value, because you may potentially have the right to buy below the market price of this stock or sell above the market price of the stock. So here we have a few key terms when talking about options that I kind of wanted to go over so you guys understand moving forward. So you have the underlying. The underlying is the stock that the option is actually for. So if you buy options for Apple, options for Amazon, options for Nvidia, those actual stocks are the underlying. So however that moves affects the price of the options. Then you have strike price. Strike price is the agreed upon price to buy or sell the 100 shares of the underlying at. Then you have expiration date, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's the date in which the contract expires on. So there's two types of options contracts: call options and put options. Call options give you the right to buy 100 shares of the underlying at an agreed upon strike price by a certain date. This is known as going long. So when you buy a call option, you're buying a call option because you think the price will go up. So the price of the call option contract will go up when the underlying stock price goes up. And inversely, it will go down when the underlying stock price goes down. Then you have put options. Put options give you the right to sell 100 shares of the underlying stock at an agreed upon price. This is a short position. So when the underlying stock price goes down, the price of the put options contract goes up. And inversely, when the underlying goes up, the puts go down. So calls and puts are important because the call, if the stock price goes up, then the call gives you that right to buy potentially under the market price of what the underlying is currently trading at. And puts give you the right to potentially buy or sell above what the market price is currently trading at, giving you better prices for each buy and sell order. So we have premiums. So premiums are the actual price of the contract and how much the contract is worth. But to get the actual dollar amount of what you would buy and sell an options contract for, you have to take the premium of the contract and multiply that by 100, because the premium of the contract is what you're paying per share to be able to buy or sell at that strike price. So just to give an example here, I'm going to pull up Robinhood, and here we have the 148 calls on Robinhood. So you can see that the premium here shows at $1.88. So for each share of Apple that this options call contract gives you the right to buy, because it's a call, you have to pay $1.88. So to get the actual dollar amount that you would pay to own the options contract, you have to multiply 1.88 times 100, which gives you $188. So that is the actual dollar amount that you would pay for this options contract, or that the seller would get from selling this options contract at this moment. Next, we have the strike price. So the strike price is the agreed upon price, as mentioned before, that the options contract you're going to buy or sell the 100 shares for. So there's kind of three different categories of strike prices, and I'm going to go over the categories and the value and risk associated with these categories. So the first category is in the money contracts, also known as ITM. So this is when the underlying stock is trading above, in the case of calls, or below, in the case of puts, the strike of the contract. Meaning that if you were to exercise your right to buy or sell the 100 shares, you would be getting that at a better price than what the market price of the underlying is currently trading at. These are typically safer investments, but they're also more expensive. Next, you have at the money contracts, also known as ATM. So this is when the underlying is trading at the strike price of the contract. So these are like medium risk, middle priced. The stock price is exactly what the option strike price is. So it has value because if the stock price goes above the strike price, then it becomes in the money contract, moving into the ITM category. Then you have OTM, out of the money. This is when the underlying contract is trading below, in the case of calls, or above, in the case of puts, the strike of the contract. These are higher risk and cheaper. The reason they're higher risk and cheaper is because if you were to exercise your right to buy or sell the 100 shares with the options contract, then you would be buying or selling at a worse price than what the stock is currently at. So these are riskier because if you were to buy them in a day trade where you flip the premiums of the option, the underlying has to move a lot more to get that out of the money contract to be closer to at the money or in the money, meaning the value of that has to go up. So that's why it's riskier. So you have to remember that cheaper isn't always better. So just to kind of give another look at it, we're going to go back to Robinhood here. And on Robinhood, you can see that they show a green line here, and most brokerages will have a separation line kind of showing where this underlying is currently at. So you can see that Apple is here at 148.29, meaning anything above this line is out of the money. So as you can see, the premium for out of the money contracts decreases drastically the farther up you go. Because these are so cheap there, because that Apple, in order for this 155 call to be in the money, Apple needs to move $7 in a week, which is very uncharacteristic of Apple, seeing as it only moves 1 or 2 points a day on average. So that is why these are so cheap, because chances are that they will not become at the money or in the money. Then you have the 148.29 is what it's at. So right here, this 148 strike price is at the money, as you can see, since it's medium priced compared to what in the monies are and what out of the monies are. So that is an at the money contract here. And anything below this 148 is an in the money contract. And you can see that the the premium drastically increases the further in the money you go. So that's the different categories of strike price. So next, this is really what the video is really about, and explaining the Greeks, what they are and how they make up the price and the premium of the options contracts. So the Greeks offer insight on how options prices are affected when the underlying price moves. So there's 5 Greeks: delta, gamma, theta, vega, and rho. We're not going to touch on rho because that has to do with interest rates, and that really only affects options that have like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year expiration. So we don't really do that in Nets trades, so I'm not really going to touch on that. So the first one of the Greeks is delta. So delta is one of probably the most important one but not to say they're not all important, but delta is the one that affects everything the most. So delta shows the potential change of the option's premium based on a $1 move of the underlying stock. So delta gets added or subtracted on every $1 move. So if it goes up $1, the delta will be added. If it goes down $1, the delta would be subtracted from the premium of the contract that you're holding, or any options contract in general. So delta on calls always shows as positive from 0 to 1, and delta on puts will always show as negative from -1 to 0. Delta decreases the further out of the money options are, but increase the further in the money options are. So let's go back to Robinhood here and go back to this 148 at the money call here. So when you click on this or click on the options and whatever brokerage you have, you'll be able to see the Greeks. Every brokerage will show you this. And the first one you see here is delta. So you can see that delta is 0.523, meaning that if Apple were to go up $1 from this price point that it's currently at, 0.5232 would be added to this 1.88 premium. So let's do the math here. 1.88 plus 0.5232, you get 2.4. So if Apple were to move $1 up to 149, this options contract would be worth $2.40. So, but it also works in the inverse. So if Apple were to go down $1, so we have 1.88 is the current price. If it would go down $1, we would subtract 0.5232, meaning that delta is subtracted from it because Apple went down. Since these are call options, when the stock price goes down, the options price also goes down. So that's how delta is calculated into that. And then here we can show you again that the deeper in the money you go, the higher delta is. So here you get 0.6 delta, 0.68, 0.745. So you can see that there. And then as well as when you go farther out of the money, delta decrease at 0.34, 0.16, 0.07. So the farther out of the money you go, the smaller the delta gets. So back to the slides here. So after that delta, we have gamma. So gamma is the rate of change of delta per $1 move in the underlying. So gamma will always be between 0 and 1, and the closer to expiration means a higher gamma. Gamma gets added to delta after every 1 point move. So a way to look at it is to view delta as the speed of which the options price changes when the underlying price moves. So when the stock price moves, delta is the speed of how the option changes. But gamma can be viewed as the acceleration behind that, because gamma pretty much scales up delta the more the option moves. So you can see if we go back to the option chain here, so to this 148 call. So if Apple goes to 149, the delta gets added. So we have that there. So it was 2.4 was what we got before. So let's just do that again quickly. Oops, sorry about that. So let's do that again quickly. Plus 0.5232. So we have 2.4 is what we would get if Apple goes up to 149.29. So if it moves $1 up, this is what the option would be at. But for this specific 148 contract, that moves it from at the money to in the money, meaning that since it's going deeper in the money, the delta will increase. And how much will the delta increase? It will increase by the gamma. So currently, while the Apple contract is at the money, the delta is 0.5232. But when it goes deeper in the money, the gamma will be added to the delta. So the delta will go up when it goes in the money by 0.0891, which is the gamma. and that moves the delta to 0.61, which is pretty on par. When you go to the strike price below, it's 0.6085. So that's pretty much how gamma works, is that it's the acceleration as which delta changes, the farther in the money it goes. Also, it works inversely, so if Apple were to go down, the gamma would be subtracted from the delta, and then the delta would be subtracted from the premium. I know it's kind of a lot to wrap your head around, but you just have to view delta as, like, if you view it as delta as the speed and gamma as acceleration, it really becomes much easier to wrap your head around and kind of comprehend how it scales up when the underlying stock moves up or down. So, and then next we have theta, theta. Sorry about that. Theta can be your worst enemy, especially on short-term contracts, weeklies, 0 days till expiration. Theta can kill your position if you're not careful. So theta is also known as time decay. So theta is how much of your premium will be lost every day as the options position gets closer to expiration. So the rate of theta decay also increases as that expiration date closes in. So every day theta will increase slowly and slowly. So in order to counter theta, the intrinsic value must increase to counter it. So intrinsic value is pretty much, if you're in calls, you want the stock price to go up. If you're in puts, you want the stock price to go down. And that will make up for theta, because that is the intrinsic value. So you want gamma and delta to bring your options contract price up and not have it be eaten away by theta. So let's go back to the options contract here. So we have theta here on this 148 Apple call. Theta is 0.1789, which means that, say if Apple just opened up tomorrow completely flat and did not change price at all, and nothing changed with the delta, gamma, anything, theta would be subtracted from this premium because it moved the day. So throughout the day, the theta will decay. So like slowly, this will be subtracted from this 1.88. So so if you take that 1.88 and everything held constant, this underlying Apple stock price stays the same, the next day your contract will be worth, minus theta, would be worth 1.7011. So like $1.70. So theta ate away $17 from your position. So it's important to know that theta decays throughout the trading day, and it doesn't just happen all at once at open. But it's very important that you have to keep in mind theta, especially on weekly swings or 0 days till expiration. You really have to keep theta in mind when you take these positions. And the last Greek here that we have is vega. So vega is the rate of change in implied volatility. So the rate of change per change in implied volatility, which means that every percentage implied volatility goes up or down, vega will be added or subtracted to the contract. So what is implied volatility? Implied volatility is pretty much the expected move of a stock price through any given time. Implied volatility can increase or decrease based on earnings, based on news. So this has the biggest impact on out of the money premiums, and the vega is a lot higher on long-term expiration contracts. So let's go back to Robinhood here, and we can see on this exact 148 Apple call that we've been looking at all video it shows here implied volatility. So the implied volatility is 25.81%. So if this implied volatility for Apple were to move up or down a percent based on earnings, based on news, whatever it is, this Vega would be added or subtracted to this 1.88. So, fuck, I keep doing that. Sorry. So, this 1.88, if Apple were to move up 1 point in implied volatility, would have the Vega added to it. And the Vega is 0.0690. So it would go up by 6 cents. So that's what would happen to the premium based on 1% move of implied volatility. And then also, if it goes down for whatever reason, that 0.6 cents would be subtracted from the Apple contract premium. And this is a very important thing to keep in mind, because if you're swinging an earnings play a few days into earnings and a few days before earnings, the implied volatility is already up because the market is pricing in this implied volatility change based on however much the underlying stock is going to move based on the earnings. So if you're going to swing anything for an earnings play, you have to check the implied volatility, because sometimes it's already very high, and if it moves like crazy in after hours but then goes flat the next day after earnings, the implied volatility is going to plummet, and then so is the premium on your contract, and that's known as IV crush. So that's something that's really important, that before you even think of taking a position for a swing of earnings or potential news or FDA approval, whatever it is, you should check the implied volatility and make sure that you're not buying into a super high IV, which means that the options contracts are already inflated, and price that in, and then when that move happens, you get crushed on IV. So that's pretty much it for the Greeks and options. So I hope you guys were able to just kind of learn a little bit more of what exactly they are. I didn't go super in depth in it because that would require a longer few hour video, to be honest. So I just hope that this gave a good, pretty much overview of exactly what it is that we're trading and how these Greeks can affect your position. So click the link below and join the Discord. Follow me on Instagram. My Instagram's in the bottom left of every slide, at Los Trades. Join Nets Trades. You can feel free to DM me on Instagram or DM me on Discord at Los Trades there too. And I'll get back to whatever questions you guys may have. I'm here to help, and I just want to see everyone become a better trader. So everyone have a great day. Let's crush going into this week. I love you guys all. Peace.